Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kerry Stevenson, and today I've asked Rita Brooks, she's the executive chairperson of Tambourah Metals. ASX code is TMB. Now, for those of you that don't know, they have a portfolio of gold, lithium, nickel, PGEs, copper, all these projects in 3 locations over in Western Australia. So basically, it's gold and critical minerals. But what's Rita excited about at the moment? She's actually excited about the critical minerals and what they're doing, because they've made some advancements, had some new ground granted. And so it's a critical, excuse the pun, ladies and gentlemen, it's a critical time with Tambora. They only listed in August of last year, so just over a year old, still a baby, but boy, have they been busy. Rita, great to see you. Thanks for joining me. I know it's a busy time for you at the moment, so welcome back to Small Caps. Right now, if we take the projects that you've got, let's go north. Let's go to the Tambora goldfield, which is about 80 kilometers southeast of 2 tier 1 operating mines. That's Wongan and Pilbara. So you're pretty close to them. You're looking for critical minerals. Tell us what you're doing and why right now is a pretty exciting time for people to sit up and take notice of you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Kerry. Great to chat. And I'd like to mention that, yes, we started at Tambora Goldfield, which was a historic goldfield. We did our maiden drilling program there in March and announced some great results. And we're planning on going back in the new year. However, the pegmatite story and the lithium-bearing pegmatites that we located at Tambora have continued to excite the market, and we are still in the Tambora goldfield managing to look for exactly the same. Pilbara is located right next door to a historic gold mine, and we're exactly the same. So we've got the historic gold, but we've also got lithium-bearing pegmatites that we're still sampling and processing. In that regard, since last year, we've expanded our lithium portfolio in the East Pilbara, at Nullagine and at Russian Jack. The Russian Jack project is the Split Rock Super Suite, which is, as Ken Brinsden described it, the engine room of the lithium-bearing pegmatites. So we know we have over 500 square kilometres of the Split Rock Super Suite with identified pegmatites. We've sampled the very first area that we located, and we actually got lithium up to 1,400 ppm.
So for those people that don't know, what does 1,400 ppm mean?
It's 1,000 ppm is if it's in gold, it's a gram. So it's a high percentage. Some people would quote 500, 400 ppm for lithium, so 1,400 ppm is good. You're onto a pegmatite that may produce at depth lithium in the spodumene that's in the pegmatites. We've got 4 other areas that we have located that we will be going and testing as well in the next 2 months. So that's very exciting news for us. And then we have agreements. So we're planning the next phase will be identify, sample, and then prepare to drill. So watch this space.
Okay, I want to go back to something you just said, which Ken Brinsden said, which is the Split Rocks Super Suite.
Yes.
Does that mean that this area is one of the best areas to discover big lithium deposits?
It has the potential, because that's the same throughout the Pilbara. The Split Rock Super Suite are the granites that host the pegmatites, and it's those pegmatites that have been identified as lithium-bearing pegmatites. So the spodumene forms in the pegmatites. So you've got to go hunting. So like they say, gold is where it is. That's exactly the same. The pegmatites may or may not contain lithium. But you start with where the engine room is, which is the Split Rock Super Suite, which are throughout the Pilbara. To the north.
They're throughout the Pilbara, but you are fairly close to 2 tier 1 lithium mines, as I said at the beginning, Wongan and Pilbara. Are you along the same geological structure, or is this area just prolific for lithium?
No, it's the same geological. Yes, it is the same geological structure in time and dating.
Oh, wow.
And it's the furthest east of the Pilbara. So we're in the East Pilbara, and we're in the central part of the Pilbara is where Pilgangoora and Wodgina are.
So just to be clear, right now, that's your focus, is this area that has it had much work done on in the past?
It's actually only had historical tantalum mined in the creeks and small prospects. We have no record of any drilling in this 500 square kilometres.
Okay, so there's no drilling being done. How are you figuring out where you're going to drill? I'm talking to you in October.
Yes.
I'm looking to communicate to your shareholders and other interested parties as to what you're going to be doing, I guess, to add value to the Tambora story.
When we've started in the last 2 months, we've had hyperspectral data, which was flown historically by De Beers when they were looking for diamonds. So this data is publicly available, and we're assembling that data with the geophysical team and highlighting where prospective pegmatites are located. And within the geological information available to us, we have mapping which has pegmatites that were mapped. So we have areas. And to the south, Minrex have Hayshed Hill, which is a known tantalum spot, and to the north, Nova Minerals have the Nullagine gold mine at Beaton's Creek. However, they've also put out an announcement about 3 months ago that they were looking at lithium bearing pegmatites within their tenure. So at Nullagine, we have 38 prospecting leases to the south of Beaton's Creek, and we're waiting on those to get granted so that we can also look for gold and lithium on that area. But at Russian Jack, it is a tantalum tin lithium project.
Tantalum. Forgive me. Tantalum. Yeah. What's it used for?
Tantalum is used for a lot of it's associated with tin, and a lot of the old timers would prospect the creeks and bag up the tantalum. However, at Russian Jack, we've only got the peripheral edges where we can see that there are historic tantalum prospects. The record were very at the same as it was also at Tambora Goldfield, where you've got tantalum in the creeks and the prospects, and so you start looking for where the source of that originated, and that's where you start looking for the pegmatites.
All right. A lot of companies out there looking for lithium, Rita.
Yes.
And a lot of noise around lithium.
Yes.
What makes your projects stand out from the rest?
I think when you look at Global Lithium, they started in the beginning of 2021. They were at the tantalum Mulyella tin field, and they started looking for lithium in the pegmatites. And since then, I think their story is a good analogy. They've drilled, they've located pegmatites, they've located spodumene, lithium, and they're now putting out a resource. So they just did a joint venture with Song-On, which is a huge Korean conglomerate which needs lithium for their battery making projects and companies, and the world needs lithium. We have to actually, so within less than 2 years, Global Lithium has a resource. And so that's the analogy. To get up a resource and a mineable project within that time is a credit not only to their workforce and to their fantastic team, but also it's a pathway that we can follow.
I was just about to ask you that. Are you going to, that's exactly what I was going to say. So how does Tambora create that sort of value following that sort of pathway, and are there similarities?
At the moment, we're on a greenfields project. We only have a couple of rock chip samples. So as a result, yes, we're going to get in the field, do more processing, but we're also using the hyperspectral data to actually pinpoint some areas that are going to be more likely to be pegmatite bearing. So some of the pegmatites will be barren, some of them look like pegmatites, but they're quartz. So at the end of the day, you actually got it's on the field, it's groundwork and it's sampling. But we have a lot of tools at hand. We've got the PXRF where you can test in the field with a handheld unit, and as a result, you'll actually get the rubidium content. And rubidium is a pathfinder element for lithium. You won't get lithium values sometimes, but that will be an indicator that there is spodumene-bearing pegmatites.
What's your time frame to get down the road of a resource? What's
beyond the well? I have no idea. However, you can only look at the Manna project, which is 100 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie, and that resource is being finalised by Global Lithium, and Global Lithium also. So within less than 2 years, Global Lithium have 2 fabulous resources of lithium.
So in those northern projects, because the way I look at Tambourah Metals is you've got your northern projects, which is Tambora, Chile, Nullagine, and Russian Jack.
Yes.
Lots of lithium, lots of looking up there.
Yes.
And lots of work. Is that the focus at the moment? Because down south, if you like, and one very, very close to Perth is your Julimar North, and we all know about Chalice, and you're not far from there, and Achilles. So what I guess I want to communicate to those that are listening is your focus fully up north at the moment, or are you still doing some work down south as well?
With the projects, we've been able to work with Pilbara going into the Christmas. We can't work through the January usually. However, weather-wise, you can't rely on that. But down at Julimar North, we did a gravity survey in December last year. The results of that highlighted targets. Our geophysicists have worked with public data, and we've got WH South project as well. This week, we just got the Yerracoin project, which was granted. So now we'll include that and get on the ground there. So we have been waiting. There has been some delays, but we've signed a contract now to fly a mag survey at Bolgart, and we will include Yerracoin. And so that's going to happen in October. The other thing that's happening in October will be on the ground with an EM survey, and that will highlight and pinpoint drill target areas. So we'll be able to hopefully plan a drill program by November.
Okay, so you're working both in and around the same time. However, up north come January, too hot, too difficult. So is that the time when you start to look at the data and the planning going forward for
with the wheat being harvested
in
November? So after mid-December, we can get on the ground, and the landowners are agreeing that we can work till before they sow, which is in April, end of March, April. So we have that opportunity then to have our targets and to get on the ground.
But that's down south. That's at Julimar, isn't it?
That's at Julimar North, yes. That area, we're the second largest tenement holder with land holdings for exploration after Chalice. So we've now got significant target areas to work on, plus we've got newly granted ground that we can include in our exploration work for nickel, PGEs, and including copper, because we're right beside Caravel, which is a copper mine proposed with a 25-year mine life. So 2 tier 1 mines.
So do you think that's important? We spoke about the fact that up north you're close to Wodgina and Pilbara. Down south you're close to a couple of operating mines as well.
Yes.
Do you think that helps because you can potentially be in an area where there's going to be more mineralization?
Yes, and we already have targets, but again, historically, no drilling. So soil sampling, but very limited drilling. We don't have previous drill holes to guide us, and the same with Russian Jack by comparison. So these are greenfields projects in that regard. However, in the location and with new knowledge and the flying and the magnetic surveys, we're going to add to that and actually follow the same path, the same process that Chalice used to define Gonaville.
And we all know what happened there. They diligently were going about doing stuff, and then bingo, they come across something big. What excites Rita Brooks as somebody who's been in this industry for 30 odd years? You've got a lot of history, a lot of exploration experience, if you like. What excites you about the projects that you've put together under the Tambourah Metals umbrella?
I think the acceleration of knowledge and that the fact that you can find, for example, Caspin, they're 10 kilometres east of us at Yerracoin, they announced that they found rhodium in their diamond drill core. They were looking for nickel, and they are looking for nickel and platinum elements. However, rhodium is an element part of the platinum group, but it's $13,000 an ounce. So no one has defined yet a resource of rhodium in Australia, and yet we're looking in Chalice with a potential platinum nickel copper mine, and to the north, Caspin have made some great announcements about their work for nickel platinum group elements, including now they're looking at rhodium. So this is only 200 kilometres, less than 200 kilometres from Perth. We're talking about new discoveries. That's exciting.
Yeah, and that's crazy, isn't it? The fact that it is just so close to Perth, so access is easy. People can go home at night and see their families, which is even more interesting.
Well, think about Nullagine's been a tried and tested over 120 years of gold, and people are starting to look in this area, Russian Jack, Nullagine, for lithium.
How do you say, I think I probably asked you this before, but I do want to ask it again. How does Tambourah Metals, I guess, get more attention? Because everybody's putting out the fact that they've got, I've got lithium. No, I've got lithium. No, I've got, no, we've all got lithium. How do you get across the message that you've got a very high possibility of getting into a resource and that there is value there?
I don't know about getting into a resource, but to discover and find a potential resource has always been the exploration focus. And so even with the gold, it's diligent work, and it's using exploration methods that are standard, plus utilising a lot of the work that you can have now with the geophysics, and that data and public information plus acquiring new data is really accelerating our exploration methods, therefore accelerating results.
Okay, I'm talking to you in October of 2022, just over a year after you listed. What can people expect, shareholders expect from you between now and let's say March next year? What are the key highlights of what you'll focus on?
Well, highlights at the moment are definitely lithium and nickel will be at Julimar nickel-PGEs at Achilles. We've found that a lot of the previous work failed to work again on a location that has a magnetic high. So this area is number one target at Achilles. And at Julimar, once we have target areas, but we want to define them with the flying and the magnetic airborne survey and some ground EM. And then at the lithium exploration at Tambora and at Russian Jack will also commence in March, but we hope to be preparing to drill in March at Julimar.
That's kind of where I was coming from, which is why I said March. I was like, when's the drilling? So Julimar drilling by March.
As long as we have permits and the targets in place, we think, and the availability of drill rigs, but we think that will be our area to get the permitting and also to have approvals, of course.
Do you think that you could make a discovery somewhat similar to a Chalice status, given you're in the same sort of area?
I'm mixed opinion on that, because I think we've got copper as well, which is very highlight of copper next to the east of Caravel. No drilling, lots of soil samples and a lot of sniffs, but now we think we want to highlight that, plus the Yerracoin and the Magumba and the Bolgart areas, definitely for looking for ultramafics.
It's a busy time ahead for you. I know you're at the Nickel Conference in WA today, so I won't keep you for much longer. Thank you so much, Rita, for joining us. Plenty of news coming forward. And as I said before, ladies and gentlemen, Rita has got some fantastic projects over there in WA. She's quietly been putting them all together. Now comes the time where, as she said, there are lithium pegmatites up there that she is looking at and that have got she's pretty interested in those, but it's Julimar as well. So up north, down south, busy time for Tambourah Metals. ASX code is TMB. Rita Brooks, thanks so much for joining me on Small Caps today.
Well done. Thank you very much, Kerry. Bye.